Hi, this is Greg Hunt, and you're listening to No Disputing That, the podcast for anyone with an interest in mediation and arbitration. In this series, I sit down with some of the best-known names in the field, and some you might not know yet, to discuss mediation, arbitration, and other forms of alternative dispute resolution, or ADR. We may even cover other issues in the law and life in general. Expect some laughs, some honesty, and quite a few editing errors along the way. Welcome back. So this is the first episode of the show for 2023, and I really wanted it to be about something which is very important to me. So this got nothing to do with mediation or arbitration or ADR, really. This is to do with food banks. I feel very passionate about food banks, and the fact that we need them at all is really upsetting. And anyway, what I wanted to do is have a series of episodes with different people who are involved at ground level in supporting food banks and helping, so I can try and raise some awareness through the No Disputing That podcast. So in this first episode, I'm speaking with John Ratomski, who is the founder of Irons Supporting Foodbanks, which is based at West Ham in London, the London Stadium. And John is going to talk through what they do and the sort of impact they have in the local community. Pre-recorded this earlier today with John, so it's just going to dive straight in. I hope you enjoy it, but obviously I hope maybe it stirs in you a call to action, which might be, if you can afford it, to donate anything to your local food bank. Whether it's time, money, actual donations of food or other goods, anything that raises awareness, please do. Times are tough, and that means times are tough for food banks as well, because people aren't donating as much as they were doing a year or two ago. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on and dive straight in. Thank you.
Good morning, John. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. All good. Good to chat with again.
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good to see you've got your branded Irons Supporting Foodbanks top on there.
Oh yeah, well, it's normal fare really for something like this.
Yeah. Right, John. So we're here today as part of the Food Bank special for No Disputing That. You're one of the few guests I've got on. So thank you for giving your time up today. It's really important, I feel, that, if I can use this platform to highlight the fact that we've got food banks, that food banks need support, and that people like yourself and your team at Irons Supporting Foodbanks are giving your time to collect for people, then I think I should do that. And I'm really sort of proud to be able to use this podcast as a vehicle to maybe highlight to people who aren't aware of food banks and what's going on in relation to the need for further support, can actually get an idea of what people like you are doing. So I was going to ask you a question to start with. Actually, before I do, I know that your hero is Bobby Moore.
Yes.
You're a West Ham fan. You started supporting them in the 70s, and that hero's Bobby Moore. Now, this isn't a football podcast, unfortunately. Maybe that'll be for another time. But obviously, you are part of a football environment that's supporting food banks. So we will mention that a bit. But I've got something to show you. This is a painting done by my mother-in-law, Sue Eldridge. Hello, Sue, if you're listening. And this sits by our front door.
Well, right.
And for listeners, it's actually a painting of Bobby Moore himself.
Right, lovely.
Because whilst I'm a Liverpool fan, I do go and watch West Ham, but my wife is actually a West Ham fan.
I didn't know you were a red, Greg.
Oh, didn't you?
No.
No. Well, I'm smiling, so I wouldn't be a blue, would I? It's not as big a smile as it has been in the past.
I know, sure.
We'll be back. I'm sure of it. It's a blip season for us, as it is hopefully for West Ham as well. Hopefully you can start turning it around now.
I hope so. Yeah, fingers crossed now.
Yeah, and talking of Everton, you've just beaten them 2-0, which brought a smile to my face.
Well, we needed a win. It had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And you won't know because you don't know her, but my wife Ellie and my daughter Alice went to the match and they did make a donation. I told Ellie I was speaking to you this morning. And she said, "Oh, we did donate." She didn't tell me to tell you that, but I'm telling you that. So
okay,
we'll have seen her at some point at the
right. Okay, smashing. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So, John, tell me a little bit about why you got involved in what you're doing now.
We played up at Anfield 4 or 5 seasons ago, opening game of the season with Pellegrini. We had his first game, and I met some of the guys from Spirit of Shankly, and they said to me, "Oh, go and have a look at the food bank van at the away end." So I went down there and met Dave Kelly for the first time, and chatted with him and Ian Byrne, and could see what they were doing, and it was just incredible. And I thought, here's the opportunity for football fans to do so much for the local community. And at that time, we had 60,000 fans coming to the London Stadium every fortnight. And thought, what a difference that the West Ham fans could make. And it really started from there. I'd mentioned it to the club. They were on board from day one. And then it was December 2019. When we had our first collection. So over 3 years now we've been collecting, outside of COVID lockdown anyway.
And you're taking about £15,000 worth of food and goods, aren't you, again?
It's about a week, including the goods, because we've just developed into a conduit for so many new clothes now, which we're supplying in the community alongside food banks. So whilst we started with working with 6 food banks and Newham food bank 6 years ago, we're now on to 32 food banks and community groups in the area, right across Essex, over to Chelmsford. And we've found that we're able to support the homeless community. There's a West Ham fan, Dan Skeets, who runs Cool to Be Kind in Chelmsford. I've got to know him over the last few months. So we've been able to supply them with mobile phones and rucksacks for the homeless, as well as overcoats. And these coats have been going out across the country. I know Dave's had success in distributing them in Merseyside. They've gone up to Manchester for homeless. And so, certainly the clothing side has really taken off. And I reckon probably last year we did about £600,000 in clothes alone that we've been distributing. And we're supplying 2 councils in Newham now who are asking for new clothes. And then Newham Hospital Children's Ward has asked us for new clothes. So, word's got around and the demand is just growing and growing, which runs alongside the food support that we're able to offer now.
That's amazing. So from just being at the match, just popping along, seeing Spirit of Shankly, then meeting the fellas at FSF, this has now boomed into something which is a massively integral part of what goes on in Newham to help people in need, isn't it?
Yes, and almost another week will go by and we'll find somebody else that will approach us, or either asking for help or offering support. We've got 4 or 5 major manufacturers of clothing now who are supplying us. And on the food side, we've got His Church, the food bank charity, that we buy and deliver a pallet now every week into Newham across the course of last year. And on top of what Newham Food Bank were able to do, I think we were on about 35 tons of food that we delivered into Newham 2022. That's
fantastic. Really fantastic. Hats off to you for all that. Clearly, we'd rather there weren't food banks. But I get a sense at the moment, just from even in Billericay, walking through Waitrose at the morning to go and get a cup of coffee and looking in the food bank bin. This time last year before, it was bulging all the time. Now I walk past it sometimes and there's virtually nothing in it. I think, people are feeling the pinch, and one of the first things to go is making donations to food banks. There's no end in sight, really, is there?
No, there isn't. I think what we've been able to develop is our contacts with the supermarkets and so on. I know Sainsbury's in Stratford now supported us greatly over Christmas, in the run-up to Christmas, with a toy appeal, but also an in-house food appeal for Newham Food Bank, which had not done before. So now we know the staff there, the management, and there's a bit of focus there with the people that, who are involved directly, and it all helps, and it does open other doors. We were introduced by the manager of the Stratford Shopping Centre to other businesses in the centre who are now offering us help as well. So it's just ongoing, and every week opens another door for us. It's the community's there to support us. That's the good thing about it. Once they know there's a conduit of where their help will go, they're very, very happy to support us further. And it's very refreshing, but sadly refreshing that it's there and it has to happen.
Yeah, and you said that the club is supportive as well. And I know that some groups of fans who've set up food banks struggle with support from the club. I won't name any names, but there's one very large, famous club, not in Liverpool, but the group similar to yours there have had real problems with even not being able to collect within the sort of grounds of the stadium. What sort of support do West Ham give?
It's generally the publicity and making fans aware of where we are, what we're collecting. And generally in practice, it's cash that we receive, but we can turn the cash around quite easily to buy what's needed in local food banks. But we do get food donations as well. So supporter services on a match day will guide fans to where we are and when we are. Occasionally they'll come along. They've had us interviewed pitch side last season as well to raise awareness. And before Christmas, they held a collection amongst the playing staff of the men's, the women's, and the youth team. We were invited down to the training ground the middle of December, and they basically filled the van with donations from contributions from all the staff of the club.
That's
and
brilliant.
It's a nice gesture from the club. Bottom line is it's about the fans and the 60,000 who are coming to the stadium every fortnight, because they're the ones who are part of the community and want to help the community, and we're giving them a conduit to do that. And you speak to so many, like when you spoke with us when you passed. We see the regulars come by and have a chat, and there's normally a little group of us now who were there and spend a few minutes chatting away and calling by. And we've got some famous little fans as well. Young Callum, who's appeared on Sky now, making his £1 a week donation with his pocket money, and other groups as well. And it's growing and growing. It's a shame it has to happen, but it brings together the West Ham fan community in a positive way.
Yeah, and on a wider scale, football stood up, hasn't it? Football fans and football fan groups, because yes, it might be football, but actually all the towns and cities around the country that now have got someone collecting for local food bank it's unbelievable. It's like a huge network.
Yeah, and it's a positive network, and it shows the positive side of the football fan. I'm sure we've got many of the public who aren't sports people, and they still think, football fans, hooliganism, back to the 80s and so on. But this is the good side now. And collectively, if Dave might have a better answer, but if you add up the amount of food that's collected at football fan food banks across the country, it's staggering, and all that supports the local community in a way that really there's no other activity that does this now, that brings the people together from all parties and supports its local community. There's no other area or group that can do this.
So how many people do you have within your group who actually help out on a regular basis?
We look to have maybe 5 or 6 volunteers on a match day, and mainly it's bucket shakers. But we've had 3 generations of London Pearlies collect with us last season. They collected bought £5,000 worth of food, and they want to come back again this season. We're looking to see if we can get the club, interview them again pitch side to raise awareness, not just on food banks, but what they do for the community as well. So that's kind of work in progress. But we help other local clubs in the area, and in return they say, well, we'll come along and collect with you. And we've had a local football group who've collected with us in the past as well, and they've said, yeah, we'll come back again. And we supply them with sportswear as well, so it kind of works both ways. But they work in the community actively, so it's a win-win for us both.
Yeah. And what do you say to people, because you do hear it, I hear it when I talk to people about food banks, people who say, well, I don't donate to food banks because people abuse it, people don't need to use it. What do you say to people who that's their argument for not donating?
Well, I think they've got to perhaps talk to the people who have the first-hand experience, who are actually giving out the food at the food banks. Adiola comes along from Newham Food Bank, and she will tell us many sad stories of people turning up with their own personal difficulties, and how the food bank helps them, through difficult times. She has many, many personal stories of and examples of what she's heard and what she's seen. Even students turning up from the local university, coming up saying, one student came in at lunchtime and said, I've just had a biscuit to eat, that's all I can afford. So they cooked him a meal there and then and said, look, come back tomorrow, the food bank will be open, we'll give you bags of food. But this is a local student at Stratford Uni, East London Uni.
Yeah. I've got 2 children at uni at the moment, and obviously fortunate enough to be able to provide for them. But that's certainly not the case for everybody. And I think, yes, my answer is always, of course, yes, there are always people in any situation in life who will exploit opportunity. And undoubtedly, there will be some people who do that with food banks. But the vast majority of people who use them are in desperate need.
Yes.
The vast majority. And I've only been to a couple of food, much to my shame, actually. I do what I can, but I've actually only been to one operational food bank. And it broke my heart. And I took one of my children with me. It was a couple of years ago. It was Basildon. And it was unbelievable. And it was hard. And it was more than I expected. It wasn't just somewhere where people went to collect food. They could have a shower. The people were being made a hot meal, which might be their only hot meal they'd be getting at that time. People had to register. I don't know if they still need to do this, but a lady was sitting at a table and she was actually registering to be able to use the food bank. And she was in tears. Anyone who saw that, there's no way she was taking advantage of anything. And I remember one of my children who came with me was really upset and taken by it, and they would have only been about 15 at the time. And it was such a shock. And you're right. I think anyone who is skeptical, go to one. Go and see it for yourself. Don't read what they say in the paper or what someone 3 times removed has said. Actually go and see for yourself. And I think you'll realise that, someone was saying to me the other day about they saw someone pull up to a food bank and they were in a really expensive car. And, so why are they in that car? They shouldn't be using a food bank. And you might have experience of this. For me, I said, well, you don't know the circumstances. They might have lost the job, and they've got a family, they've got a mortgage, they've lost the job, the car's on lease. They can't return the car. They can't do anything with it. It's theirs, they're stuck with it. And just because they're driving a big car doesn't mean that they're not at that moment in absolute hardship. And I think people see things like that and it puts them off. But you've got to look at what the story is behind that individual. And possibly they've just lost the job, and they maybe are only using the food bank that one time to get them through that week or that month while they're looking for something else. People have to take people's circumstances into consideration and stop being skeptical. And please keep donating. I think. Is there anything you'd like to add to any of that, or any message you'd like to give sort of more generally about why you feel people should continue to support food banks all over the country?
It's not getting any better. It's clear now, and as you've seen, even the donations in supermarkets are perhaps reducing. I think other people who are using food banks are now aware that there are food pantries as well, where perhaps they're happy to pay a couple of pounds or so, and it's more that's a different attitude, but it's not for free. They'll put some money in and get £20 out, and Dave will tell you about the success they've had on Merseyside with the mobile food pantry, and we're supporting 2 or 3 food banks in East London who are doing the same now, who've established pantries. So there's perhaps a little bit more dignity for people who are using. But I've seen at Everton, I went across in the summer to see what they were doing, and it was incredible. 100 families were fed there across the morning, and it was so well structured. And we're trying to work with Newham Council to see if we can set something up as a mobile pantry in East London, and that's work in progress.
Amazing, honestly, John. It's amazing what you do and what you've achieved, and thank you on behalf of everyone I know who is interested and wants to learn more. I think what you've said is really important. Hopefully people will listen to this and get the message, and get out there and donate online or do whatever they can to just help, because I always think none of us are really more than a month or 2 months away from having to find ourselves in this sort of situation. Lose your job, can't pay your mortgage, can't pay your heating. All of a sudden things add up, and you're making that choice between food and other things, especially if you've got children. So I think people shouldn't be blasé about it and actually think, well, this could be me if things went wrong.
Exactly. So great.
So if I'm in a position now where I can do something, then I'm going to do it, and hopefully that will have some sort of effect.
We work with manufacturers who are printers of T-shirts and hoodies, and we get their cancelled orders or overstock or whatever, or very sometimes a very slight misprint, but they're all brand new. Many of them are still in bags and tagged. Particularly Umbro contacted us about 15 months ago. Greg, they've given us probably over 60 grand's worth of clothes. Wow. That's amazing, football boots, trainers, even. Kiddies West Ham kits, because basically the factories from around the world are sending samples, production samples to the buyers for approval, and they just stack up. And so Umbro will contact me probably 3 times a year and say, John, we've got all this stuff that needs moving on. They provided me with, I think, 25 big boxes of clothes in November. But every box was different, and there were sports bags in there, jeans, training shoes, overcoats, and we took a whole load of coats to a specialist school with West Ham at Christmas time, to Tunmar School in Beckton, which is a kind of specialist school for kids who have been excluded from mainstream education. But the teachers were saying to me, who I knew through a WhatsApp group, that they're saying, we've got kids coming to school with no coats. This is when you had that really cold spell at the beginning of December with lots of snow. So I thought, right, and the foundation said to me, where should we go and do this thing with the Players Project? I said, well, Tunmar School needs coats. So 3 players came along. I don't know if you've seen the video on, did you see the video?
No. I go to games, but I don't watch West Ham videos.
I'll send you the link. It was all to do with the Players Project, and they spent an afternoon with us, because Barking Council have given us a storage container, and it's half full of clothes. Wow. I'm going down Tuesday after the Derby game and spend a couple of days there and moving it all out, and that's where we received 9 pallets of surplus clothes in November from another company. They print 9,000 garments a day, and they had so much stuff that they had no more room for stock. So they said, all that is surplus, it's yours. And so they send me 3 pallets at a time, and we distribute. Some of it's going to Ukraine now. There's a container going to Syria that we're supplying to. Dave's introduced me to someone working near Gatwick Airport, who's supplying the refugees as they come out of the centres. They've got no clothes, so we're making arrangements to supply them now with clothes. We've got so many, and to say it was about 600 grand's worth last year when we totted it all up, and there's more due from Umbro now. from 2 centres. They're just preparing to send me some more, and we'll just give them out to where we think it's necessary. And Newham Hospital have approached us as well for the kids ward. Say 2 councils, Newham Council, Barking Council, desperate for new clothes, that they approach us. We're talking with Hackney Council as well about the possibility of supplying them with new clothes. And it's thinking back to how it was 3 years ago. You just wouldn't believe that we'd get to this stage now. But it was £750,000 last year when we totted it all up, what it was all worth with the food and the clothes. And if we reach 1 million this year, it wouldn't surprise me. I think we've done 39 grand up until last week so far this year. And I know next week there's going to be a lot more that we'll be shifting out of the container. Stuff's all there, it just needs distribution.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's a little industry now.
Yeah.
But if we can dovetail it into what the football fan is doing for the local community, and the positive side of that, and taking away the negativity of, oh, it's football, it's hooligans, but we're not all like that. And, Dave will talk to you all about that. And you see, I mean, you'll go to Anfield, won't you, and see the games there. I've stood with them at their collection point before a match, and you see people turning up with a carrier bag of food in each hand, and they're the regulars. And even I recognise them now, those that come, and the staff that volunteer there as well. They're lovely, lovely people. I enjoy spending a couple of hours with them before a game at Anfield. And I've been there before when we haven't had a game and I've had a free evening. I've just to chat with them because they're so inspirational. And to see the fans turning up with the food, and who was Chris Kirkland turned up when we played at Anfield, and he came along with bags. I had a good chat with him. I didn't realise how tall goalkeepers were. He's a giant. But we had a bit, because he's had his personal issues as well.
Yeah, of course,
And so he's there all the time. And to watch him on social media, he's very active promoting the Liverpool Food Bank. It's sad it has to happen, but the environment is so good. It's so positive when you're speaking to these people.
Yeah. Well, on one hand, long it continue, but on the other hand, it would be great if it didn't have to.
Yeah, exactly. That's the bottom line. Dave will say we'll have the biggest party ever the day that there's no more need for food banks. And obviously Ian Byrne's pushing that, very hard in Parliament.
Okay.
It's just West Ham at the moment. We talked with somebody from Leyton Orient. We've helped Southend United. But you really want your Chelseas and your Tottenhams and your Arsenals and Palaces to come on board. And there isn't the interaction yet. So it's work in progress. And I know we can do it through the Football Supporters Association maybe and get those links. There's lots still to do. But can you imagine, London as a collective? And I know West Ham are keen on doing this. We had a meeting with them in November, and they're looking to do a London link of fan food banks. But again, it's work in progress.
God, imagine what you've achieved, and if that was replicated by all the London clubs. It'd be amazing.
You're looking at several hundred tons of food across a year.
John, final question, and a nice easy one. If someone wants to contact you, what's the best way?
Our email, we're ironsfoodbank@gmail.com. We have a website as well, ironsfoodbank.co.uk. We update there with our activities. We like to keep a log and let people know what we're actually doing and where their donations are going each month and so on. So we're keen to keep that up to date. So there's a lot of transparency there, and people will see us at games. I guess that's it. They might see QR stickers stuck around East London, donate here. We've got those around. We're selling merchandising as well now, and all that goes back into the pot so we can buy more pallets of food. Those we sell on the match day and online. So we also have some fundraisers coming up, and we're planning on something for Easter time as well, as we did with the sponsored charity walk last year. And again, you might know David Sullivan's Jr. Junior came along with us that day and walked with us for the day and helped raise, several £1,000s for local Newham kids at Easter.
Excellent. That's fantastic. And if people are tribal, they can go online, they can Google their own club, and there'll probably be a food bank there as well, won't there?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we're playing a derby on Monday, and I found out that they've got their own food bank as well. So we'll make a donation to them, as we do when we go to Liverpool and Everton and the other clubs who have the active food banks. And we received a generous donation from Dave when Everton came down on Saturday, and that'll all be put to good use. Excellent.
Well, thank you, John.
Pleasure.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for all the time you and your teams give in doing all this. It makes such a difference to so many people. Thanks very much.
Okay, well, good luck with the cycling as well.
No, cheers. Yeah, I'm getting there slowly. Thank you for listening to No Disputing That. Please subscribe to hear more from experts in the field. If you'd like to suggest any future areas for discussion or to appear on the show yourself, you can follow us on Twitter at No Disputing That and send us a DM. Finally, if you need a mediator, give my management team at Arbitra International a call on 020 7936 7070 or email info@arbitra.co.uk. See you next time on No Disputing That.